All right, hello everyone. Welcome back to another creature feature brought to you by the Reptile Zoo. I'm Michael, and we're going to take a look at a really interesting snake. This is known as a gopher snake. Some people also know them as the bull snake. That's actually the name I tend to refer them to. Now, these guys are found in the central United States, from the Canada border down to the Mexico border. So they cover a pretty large area. A lot of where they live will be things like grasslands, but you can also find them in some woodlands, some mountainous areas. And these snakes get to be a pretty good size, especially for a North American snake. North America, we don't get great big giant pythons or anything like that, but these guys can exceed 6 feet in length at some of their largest sizes, which, yeah, if you ask me, that is a pretty big North American snake. But it's a non-venomous animal, and these guys are primarily, most people would say it's a constrictor, not in the same way that the boas and pythons are. They're what I like to refer to as the true constrictors, but since they're not venomous, physically overpowering their prey is how they get a meal. But these guys are often prey themselves. You know, there's quite a few things that'll eat them, various both wild and feral cats, and even like your normal house cat, or things like coyotes. There's various birds. I mean, there's even other snakes that eat these guys. But to defend themselves against most of their predators, these guys have a pretty ingenious thing they like to do. Now, when you look at a gopher snake's coloring and patterning, obviously this is going to be their camouflage. It'll help to break them up, hide them out. But it does have a pattern to it, an actual repetitive pattern to it. And there is one other snake that most people think about when they see a snake that has this repetitive pattern. It doesn't look exactly like this, but it's the repetition that tends to remind them of it, and that is the rattlesnake. They have that repetitive diamond pattern on their back. So he might not look exactly like it, but he doesn't have to look exactly like it. He could just look close enough. But it's not always about the colors. You know, sometimes their behavior will help them too. These guys can act like a rattlesnake. One thing they do in particular is, even though he may not have a rattle on his tail, he can still trick you into thinking he is one by simply hiding his tail away in some dried grasses or under some leaves. And he'll shake that little tail as fast as he can. You know what, guys? It's a pretty convincing sound if you've ever heard it. I've heard these guys occasionally vibrate that little tail in their little boxes, where we have some bedding in there that's basically like a type of a wood shaving. And you know what? It is pretty convincing. It makes a pretty interesting sound that is remarkably like a rattlesnake. In addition to that, you know, they'll do some other pretty basic things. They'll puff themselves up to look bigger, and they even do this pretty interesting one. I've never seen these guys do it, but they can even kind of flatten out their head and give it a bit more of that triangle shape that rattlesnakes are known to have. Now, that would make it a pretty convincing bluff that he's something way more dangerous than he really is. But honestly, a gopher snake, or again, as I usually call them, the bull snake, not a danger to people at all. If anything, this is a really, really good snake to have around. Not only do they eat various small rodents, such as mice and rats, but even something as large as a gopher, hence the gopher snake. Again, it is a very large snake for North America. And in their area, there are quite a bit of gophers. So if you've got a gopher problem and you see one of these guys, don't hurt him, don't get rid of him, let him stick around. You know, he'll help get rid of that little vermin for you. All right, well, we're gonna cut this video now, and we want to thank you guys for joining us for another creature feature. We look forward to having you for many more, so keep a lookout. There's more to come. Thanks again. Have a good one.